Welcome to this episode of the Gunman. In this video, I'll be taking you through the paintwork on this Kashmir Beige Mitsubishi Magna, and the colour code for this one is 6386. So all the prep work's been done. I've then taken it into the booth, masked it all up, placed the panels in there, and I'm using here Wipeouts is the name of the product, and it's a anti-static, static removing wipe, and it's a final degreaser. So these wipes, there's a few different brands of them. I'm using the DeVilbiss one, and I'm trying to do that to just show you that your arm hairs will no longer stick up, so it's removing any static that you sometimes get from the plastic parts. So that's all that does. So it's a final step before painting. There's no need for tack ragging. I just found a little bit of something that landed on it after, but yeah, I've found using those cloths that you get a lot less dust in your paintwork, and the couple of dollars that you may spend on them, you'll then save in time and effort when you're polishing when you've got a lot less dust in your paint jobs. So, next up, we're putting the plastic primer on. So I'm using just a 1K plastic primer. The brand is ProTech, which is a fairly cheap brand. We just use it to save costs. Mainly, like the rest of the paint is going to be done in Standox, but this ProTech is what we use for plastic primer, and I usually like to just get a couple of coats of that on just to make sure it's going to stick. I kind of don't trust it, but it does work. It does stick, but I just put an extra coat on for what it's worth. So for this start bit, I've left it at double speed just to stop it from getting too long. It's relatively unedited in the way that I haven't edited out some troubleshooting and stuff like that, which I ended up having to do. So I think that the footage, the feedback I've been getting, that guys want to see a bit more of the troubleshooting and stuff like that. So it shows you exactly what it takes to get the job done, rather than editing it all out and just showing you just the paintwork, because there's a bit more than that goes into it. So next up, I'm just going over these panels with the tack cloth. So prior to this, I'd actually already wiped those panels down with and the boot lid down with a separate wax and grease removing solvent, but I left that out for this video. So I've got that boot lid or the trunk there on that stand, so I can get inside and out at the same time. So we seam sealed because it's a new panel. We put that seam sealer around the edge as well. I've got some videos covering some seam sealer too if you want to check through some other vids. My aim is to, so I get a lot of guys asking questions on my Facebook page mainly, and I'm more than happy to answer them, but if it ends up getting too much bigger and taking up too much of my time, basically my aim is to have a video for every question anyone could ever ask. So if they ask a question, all I do is send them a link to one of my vids, and there's their question answered. That's my aim. So it's going to take a long time to get there, but hopefully I can get there sooner or later. And so what this was here in this corner, it ended up that I must have got a tiny little bit of seam sealer when I seam sealed the inside, tiny little bit that came out onto the exterior panel. Didn't realise it until last thing. So by the book, yep, I should have put a touch more primer over that, but it's so small, it's really not going to make a difference. It's going to stick, and it's not going to rust up. So solvent base is not going to rust up. If I was using water-based base coat, then I'd probably want to seal it down with some primer or something, because the water will obviously make the steel rust, but solvent base, it's not going to happen. So that's pretty much our first coat done on that boot lid. Then we'll come up and start doing the rest of the panels. Now, I ended up mixing up about 650 mils for this job, which then turns into about 800 mils mixed up by the time you've got 2:1, 850 mils maybe by the time you've mixed it up to 2:1 ratio with reducer. That's with my colour, 600 mils I mixed up, and I probably could have really used a ground coat looking back, and I probably should have, because I come pretty close to running out of paint, and I had to drastically alter the way I painted the last coat on and go into paint saving mode. But I'll show you how I do that later on. So yeah, just being that I'm doing the inside of the boot, it's sometimes easier just to paint these boot hinges just so that the colour is exactly the same once the boot's back on. So didn't really have to wait very long in between coats, and just ended up going straight back around to where I started again. So as you remember, I had to sand out that bit on the outside anyway, and I've got the booth set to about 25 degrees. I like to paint in a nice warm spray booth. Partly because I'm just used to painting in the heat, because in the summer over here it gets real hot. So settings for base coat, I'm using the GTI Pro, the HVLP Air Cap on it for base coat here, and the settings are just have the fluid wound right out, so it's just holding in by a couple of threads on the thread on the needle, and open the fan right up, and you can set the pressure to about 20 to 25 psi, which is about 1.5 bar, and crank it up to probably about 2 bar for your last coat to get that effect coat on, and you put that on a lot quicker and lighter. So when we do the blend, the colour blend, sorry, I've slowed it back down, and from there on it's back to normal speed for the rest of the video. So, the video was originally 26 minutes long, so that's from start to finish. Just out of interest, you may want to know something like that, but yeah, I cut it down to an 18-minute video in the end. At the end, we've got a quick look at the car once it's all finished off, being washed up, polished and reassembled, and just after that there's a few links you can check out of my other vids. If you haven't already seen them, check them out. Give my channel a sub too, there's a link at the very end too if you want to. You can skip to the end if it's getting too boring for you, otherwise hang around and watch. Feedback's always welcome too, let me know what you think. Give the vids a like or a dislike if you really don't like them. Share them around with your friends. Check me out on Facebook, there's a link in the comments box in all of my videos to my Facebook page. So this is our colour blend here. In that spray gun there, I've got blending clear, which all that is just clear base coat. It's a tinter on the rack. Every paint system has it, and it's just clear base coat, and it allows a wet bed for your last coat or your blend coat of colour to land straight into. And you'll take note of how I actually only took it just where I'm blending. I didn't actually take it right up to that very front edge of that quarter panel, because if you do, you can end up getting a bit of a colour change. It'll deepen the clear up too much. So you can see I just left it just where I'm actually going to be blending. And when I come to clear coat, I'm only going to be putting one coat of clear up over that front edge of the quarter panel. So you see with our last coat of colour, I'm just going a lot quicker. I'm not going for coverage, I'm just going more for the effect in the metallic. And same thing on this last coat of the bumper bar, it's already covered. As I said before, I went into paint saving mode, so I got the gun a lot closer and just put a real nice wet coat on. It was very little overspray, and yeah, I just got it covered up, and this last coat will just give me a bit of a effect coat. So just dry those quarter panels down. They may look a little bit blotchy when it's still wet, but don't panic and keep blending over and over and over the top of it, because sometimes you'll take colour too far and you end up going edge to edge. So now we're back we're starting on our clear coat, and I'm using my new gun here, which is the DeVilbiss GTI Pro Lite, otherwise known in America as the 10 Cap Pro Lite, exactly the same spray gun. I did notice though that over there in America, I don't think you guys have the air valve on the bottom as we do. We've got an air adjuster down the bottom of our spray gun, as you can see in this this part here. I think you guys have a bung inside there, so yeah, the photos that I've seen do have a bung in there instead of an air adjuster. So yeah, any Americans that are watching this, let me know about that. I'm just interested, because the photos that I've seen doesn't have one. Interested to know if you guys do. If some of them do, some of them don't. So, first coat is on the boot lid now, and you take note of here on the first coat. I'm not actually taking it right up to the front of that quarter panel there. I'm keeping it a couple of inches off, so as we're not going to deepen up the colour too much. The clear coat with the clear coat there. It's mainly an issue on these light metallics, so silver, gold, any light metallics. You get the light greens or light blues. A darker colour, I'd probably bring 2 coats right up to that edge, and you wouldn't have an issue. Gives you a bit more to play with too sometimes. If you get a run there, you got more meat on there to cut it out with and stuff like that. You got a bit more to cut into before you start going through. But a guy was asking me recently, he said, oh, but if you only put 1 coat of clear up to the front there, is it going to be enough clear coat on there? And obviously it is, because you've still got the clear coat from factory, which was underneath there anyway, so you're just putting your clear straight over the top of that. So yeah, there's no issues with that. You might have taken off half a coat when you sanded it, and then you put a full coat back on, so you haven't left them with not enough clear in that small section anyway, so that won't be an issue. So settings for this gun is, I've found the best 3 turns out with the fluid. You can alter that to vary on what paint you're using, but most paint, most clear coats is 3 turns out with the fluid. Open the fan right up for most jobs like this kind of job, like full panels, and you may want to close it up if you're doing wheels or something like that, or some fiddly little spots. But yeah, most of the time open right up is pretty good, and pressure is about 25 psi, which I think is about 1.7 or so psi. Oh, sorry, 1.8 bar. And yeah, pretty much every gun has a sweet spot, and yeah, you can just, after you've been doing this for a while, you just know when it's at the right settings for clear and base coat. So yeah, I just found that this thing just hums along at 25. It's just perfect. You can go actually a little bit lower. You can also go a little bit higher if you want to get an absolutely extremely awesome finish and material usage isn't an issue to you. Go a touch higher, maybe go to 26, 27 or something like that. Any higher, you're just going to get too much wastage, and you're really not going to improve the finish that much. And same thing, if you think you're about to run out of colour, you can go a touch, of clear. You can go a touch lower, lower your pressure, put the spray gun in a little bit closer, and go a little bit quicker, and you'll be able to save a bit of paint that way. So I'm slowing down on my second coat a touch. If you want to get it on nice and wet, a bit wetter, it's your final coat. Turned out this job came out really extremely clean. I was real happy with how it came out. There's only a couple of nibs in it, a couple of little bits of dust we had to denib out. I'm just adjusting my pressure again, because sometimes I get halfway across the boot lid and it starts going down a bit or going up a bit, but you can also compensate for the adjustment in the pressures by the way you spray as well. So you're going to go a bit quicker as the pressure's higher, a bit slower as the pressure's lower. Compared to the GTI Pro, the T2 cap that I used to use on the GTI Pro and the HVLP, this does use a lot less air pressure, I've found. Pretty similar for paint usage. I think maybe the HVLP uses a touch less paint than the TE20, but I'm really really happy with the results I've been getting with this TE20. I must say it's an extremely easy gun to use. That's the main thing I found from it. It's really easy. I think a beginner would find it really easy to jump in and have a go at this gun. I would recommend it to a beginner who's looking at getting a half decent gun. So we just go for a top up. Not far off the end now, we just got the bumper bar. And then after that we just got to do a couple of little blends up the tops of those quarter panels. A clear blend, not a colour blend. So as you saw, I'm not painting up the whole way over that pillar through the windscreen. I'm just painting part of it, and then we'll put some blending reducer over that edge, which we can then polish up when it's in the detailing bay. And this bar did really come up nice and clean. Sometimes if they static up, as I was saying before, that you can get dust all through it. I've seen bumper bars totally ruined. I've had it happen myself once or twice. The bumper bar, you just get dust the whole way through it, and it's just easier to repaint it. For some reason they get staticked up once you're tack ragging them or you're wiping them down. If you're not using the correct cloths, then it can start to cost you a bit of money. So as I say, you spend a couple of dollars on the prep work and it'll end up saving you money later on. There's one or two little bits of dust in there, but overall it's quite clean. Pretty happy with it, how it came up. No big runs or anything. So this is that blending clear we've got in my minigun here. Just get a nice wet coat over that end. You've just got to be careful with this that you don't put it on too wet, because it is only reducer. It is prone to running. It's got no real body to it, it's just reducer. So here we go with a quick look at the car after this. Got it outside in the sunlight, ready for the owner to pick up. No colour difference to the door there. Looks nice. Check out these vids if you haven't seen them. Click that subscribe button. Thanks again for watching, and this has been another Gunman production. Goodbye.